Alright, so let's put it, I want to look at a different sample.
So we close it out. That means we do it?
Well, I know how to do it. I don't need to practice.
Maybe we can all take turns, like, one at a time, you know?
Let me know. Let me know if I'm wrong. Oh wait.
Exactly, yeah.
Awesome.
So now, would the next step be to pull out the rod containing the sample?
Yeah.
Work.
The valve is closed, so.
Now
You wanna give it a shot?
Sure.
What's the reading on it now?
19.
19.
So. Yeah, we have to remember that if we start off with a twisted hand, by the time we have to do that twist actually that you did right now, make it easy for us.
Right. Once you pull it out and start rotating it, the pin's no longer line up with the grooves, so you can let go of it and reposition your hand.
Okay. Gotcha. So, there's a grid right now, so the best way to remove this would just be to take a tweezer and pull it out. Is that an
Put it
okay?
in the holder first, right?
So, put it in here.
Yep. We don't want to touch the metal, right?
Okay. Is this something I can do?
You want to use the little pin rod there that's stuck in the holder. The pin in it. And you're just going to put another sample on it. That's right. Just put it on the white filter paper there.
White.
Alright, leave it there.
And then, which sample should I take?
Put in a sample from section 2, that box. Put it down on the table so it doesn't bounce. Don't let the box bounce the way you put it down.
Okay.
That can cause all the grids to jump out of their holes. You will be an extremely unhappy camper when that happens to you, because they don't stay right above the hole they jumped out of necessarily. Don't touch anything with your fingers.
No,
You need to
keep
put
it there.
Put down your tweezers. Use the other hand to hold the rod in place. Stop. Close the grid box so you don't hit it accidentally and pop all your grids out. Does it sound like the voice of experience here?
Alright.
Well done.
Thank you.
We're gonna give it a shot. Loading it.
I forget, do I do it with the twisted hand to start out with?
I think that was the recommendation.
No.
It's gonna go, you're just gonna put it in and let it pump.
Danny, you have a better.
You have to get the pins to line up properly. That's it.
Light is on.
So
You want to just leave it like that?
See if,
should be at once it's
okay,
locked, right?
see if we can rotate it freely. Don't twist it much.
Okay.
So you're still not there, I think, right?
Not too free.
You can feel that click, click back and forth, otherwise it just turns.
Okay. And then it goes rest of it in, or just doesn't it suck it in?
I'm sorry?
Not yet. Until after.
Once the light turns off, I think that's when you do the twisted kind of thing.
If you don't get it into the slot correctly, when you, okay, you need to twist it. Thumb up, and rotate.
And that's gonna suck it in, so you wanna hold it. Yeah. Make sure it doesn't slim.
Alright.
You wanna make sure it's flat.
Great.
Alright?
Now. Check.
This is the streamline. Use this one. So, your samples are press eccentric. Are we on that side already?
I guess we have to open the valve.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that everything's on.
So open the valve. Go ahead. So that's ready.
Okay.
So let's see. Show the next part is. Open valves and see if illumination is visible out.
Oh yeah. So the filament is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Settings.
Valve and see if illumination is out visible. I guess, should we check if illumination is visible?
I mean, I don't think we're looking at it yet.
Turn on high tension.
Why do you say that?
Well, we don't have any feed on the camera, and we're not looking at, I don't have to do anything right here.
You don't see anything on the screen?
Not in the fishbowl.
Is the microscope on?
I don't think it is. We should probably see where we want to turn it on.
Is the power of the microscope on? I mean, you need to start troubleshooting from the most basic on
Yep,
to the
so-
more complicated.
How do we turn it on?
That big, that power box, is this on off, I guess?
Yeah, so right now,
Don't
Can I
press
just
anything,
press that?
please. No, don't
That's
press
not it?
anything.
okay.
That is the set of lights that'll tell you if the microscope's on. You just put the rod in, didn't you? And something turned on, a pump turned on, and so what would you conclude from that?
It's on, that is on.
The microscope is on, okay? Is the filament turned on?
It's yellow and this is other. Huh? I'm guessing it's
So, should be on the other sheet that you have. What does it say if it's yellow?
Yeah, mountains with about 25, so wait for the training calendars maximum, click on close, click on column valve close, to open the column valve.
Yep.
It's done. Sure that the markings are perfect for this.
I mean, can we just check? Maybe we can just take
Just
a look.
first decrease the magnification to 1400.
Yeah, so we can't see anything.
Just look at the big view screen.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah.
So it's not turned on. So,
Well, no, that's not the correct conclusion.
You gotta increase the
correct-
magnification to 1400.
Wait,
No.
you don't see anything on the screen. So the conclusion
the feed is.
is that this is what we're working through now. Is you might not see anything on the screen because the filament isn't on. The valves might not be open. Have you checked all the different possibilities for anything that might be blocking the beam?
okay.
The 500 magnification is low enough so that you would be seeing what on the view screen?
Green. Light.
You'd be seeing grid bars at 500. And the grid bars wouldn't be large enough to block the screen entirely. So if your magnification is higher, it's possible that you're sitting on the intersection of two,
I see what you're trying to
two
say.
bars, and that's going to block all the way. And as soon as you move the stage, all of a sudden your light's there. But since you figured, well, there must be something blocking the beam like the apertures, you start twisting the aperture knobs.
So the apertures right now are closed.
The apertures are both in the column.
So it's blocking it right now.
At low mags, the aperture is going to restrict your light to a small circle in the center. But have you ruled out
The
anything
filament,
else?
maybe?
What about the filament?
So maybe the filament is not turned on?
What does your panel tell you?
It says increase the filament current to the max, or about 25 or so.
So is the filament,
I think the filament is
I
at
put to like
26.
Oh, so 26.
if it's like the column, then yellow would be that it's off.
So should we click the filament button?
is the filament on or off?
It's on.
The filament is on.
It is on.
Is it heated up?
It says heat to 26.
So is it heated?
I believe so.
Yes,
Based on what?
based on the
That
bar
bar that
measured.
shows.
The blue and red bar?
Blue bar.
Yeah.
So the blue bar is showing you that the filament's been heated. So are you getting some emission current?
It says emission 2.54.
Okay. So that's good. A little low, but
Should be around 3 to 4.
so you should if all of that is
Checking off, then
checking off, then
should move on to the next
you
one.
should move on, work your way down the column. You've got the filament on and it's heated up, so the electron should be coming down.
Okay.
You're at 500 on the magnification, which means your image is going to be just a small circle in the center because the aperture is blocking it.
So
So
we should consider working with the apertures.
Opening up the projector.
So
That's one way to deal with the problem. What's another?
Suggestion.
Well, why do you only see a small circle of light at 500x?
is it because you're working with the condenser aperture, you're making it a very small one as opposed to you can get a bigger one? You can expand the beam of light or the
It's set at 4
the
right
distance at 4.
The intensity.
Would also be the objective.
Into the stage where there's
Okay. When you're looking at your virus samples at high magnification, does your condenser aperture in? Well, what would you guess?
Yes.
On your objective aperture?
Well,
I think they should both be in.
Yeah, they should both
Yeah.
be, and that's why
In
you
order
go
for
through
you-
the alignments.
Yeah.
Okay, so at high magnifications, your aperture is in and you're able to get a full field of view.
Mm-hmm.
So at 500x, you get a very small field of view. It's only a little white circle. Why is it a white circle? Why isn't it a full field of view?
So maybe the aperture here, maybe it's really small, maybe we can increase it and get a bigger circle.
Or you could just take it out of the way.
Okay.
So that would be one possibility. What's the other possibility? If you don't want to touch the apertures and your beam is blocked, so at 500x you only get a small circle,
Need a stage to conceal.
When you're looking at your virus particles, you're gonna get a full field of view, yes?
Yes.
Is the aperture going to be in, the objective aperture?
Yes.
So why do you get a full field of view there but not now?
So maybe the aperture isn't in for this one.
It's the same aperture. So the aperture, as I mentioned, is blocking your view. So all you see is a small circle. So
Okay.
you either can take the aperture out, so at that low magnification, you can see the entire spread of the beam, or you can raise the magnification so you're not in the low mag.
Okay.
When you
So
come out of low mag, then you're able to get a full field.
yeah. So that's what we should do is either remove the aperture so that it's not blocking it or raise the magnification.
Right.
Okay, so how do we remove the aperture or raise the magnification? That is the question.
Well, we're saying the aperture would just be moving that knob, wouldn't it?
Opening it, it's a fixed size. You can put a different size in. What is the computer monitor on the right telling you?
The beam is too low.
Beam too low.
What are
Plate
you-
magnification 560.
Where are you reading that information from?
Beam too low. Plate magnification.
So what is that you're reading it out of?
This is the camera control.
The camera control.
So then we can adjust the magnification of the camera. The camera control.
Where's the camera located?
Should be right here.
Right. And where's the beam?
Should be coming from there.
Right. So how is it possible that the side mount camera can see the beam if it's to the side of what the beam is?
The mirror?
The mirror in place. Is the mirror in place now?
So we know. It's up, isn't it? When the
So it's out of place, the mirror's out of place, then how do we put it into place?
There's a switch.
Is it just a matter of flipping the switch then? Okay, so which way should we flip the switch? I don't want to touch anything without knowing the right answer first.
So the side mount camera program is running, so there's a chance that the camera's in place. If the camera's in place, how much light is going to show up on the bottom view screen?
none.
None. So if you don't see anything when you start opening the valve and doing everything, an easy thing to check is, did somebody leave the camera in? And you want to do that before you start playing with the beam intensity, because if the camera's in and you start boosting it up to crossover, you're liable to scorch it.
So when that little extension is pointing towards the camera,
Camera's on. The camera's on.
that it says
right
in,
now.
Yeah, when it says in, it's in.
and it's pointing towards the camera.
And when it doesn't say anything, it means it's out.
So to take out the mirror, there's a switch there, or
Is the
do
mirror
we
in
just
or out?
put it's in?
I'm sorry?
It's in,
Based on what?
based on that the feed is going to the camera, and then that little knob is pointing towards the camera? No? It's when it's sticking out, when it's...
Ready to flip the switch.
And then the switch is... It's not. But now it's in.
So is the camera now, the mirror in or out?
Out.
Oh, so it's in, so right now.
I thought we got the camera.
No. So it was out before.
Yes, it was out.
Now it's sticking out.
So what we just explained to
Oh, it
each
was
other.
out.
Exactly.
The flag is up, it's in, and when it's not there, it's out. Okay, so,
Take it on. So you can see what's...
that's right. Because you don't want to, you can't see very easily what the beam is doing there until you start turning it up, in which case you might start scorching it. So always better, because you might not have put it, the fact that that window's open there, it might be in final image, in which case it's not recording anything directly, because you haven't turned it back on for live image. So if it's not live, it's not going to record changes in intensity. So in order to avoid that, when you're not sure what you're doing, take the camera out. And then you should see it on the view screen. Okay, so the camera we've decided is out. So do you see anything on the view screen?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you try to do anything to make the beam appear visible on the view screen? What could you do?
So for the beam, I guess that's when you can start adjusting the eccentric focus and the aperture.
Well, you don't want to adjust the aperture until you see if there's a beam, because you can't center the aperture if there's no illumination.
Right. Okay.
So turn down the light. Since your camera's out, you don't have to worry about scorching the camera screen. You just have to worry about scorching the view screen. So turn the intensity knob.
Okay.
Son of a gun. So there's something there. So you want to bring the mag up. Okay. Let me take a quick look at this one. This is one of the BIOL 366 samples. So we're going to bring the mag up some. There you can see the screen. You can see here's our intensity. We can bring up to crossover to see whether or not it looks like it's expanding evenly. It's off a little, right? Everybody sees that?
Yes.
So we'll spread the beam so we know it's not too intense for the camera. And then we'll just take a quick look and see if we have more bacteriophage on this sample than on the previous sample I looked at. So this is at almost 60,000. These things should look like little lollipops if they are.
They're there.
They're there, right? And
Right now you just went through a grid.
I just went through a grid bar, right? So these don't look like lollipops. It's stain precipitate. Okay, so I can go report back to the lab associate. All right, so I'm going to take the camera out. So we saw that the alignment was off slightly. So you can go ahead and go through the alignment process now. And I'll make it a little more interesting for you.
Okay. So now the alignment. We'll see. So remove the objective aperture and see if
So now you want to check and see if it's still in alignment.
Okay.
Right.
We can do the crossover.
So when we first turn down the
So would I use this intensity to see how it focuses? How, if it's concentric or not?
Your intensity, yes.
Wait.
So you're turning it the wrong way.
We're not seeing
Um,
anything.
I'm not seeing anything.
You're not turning it on.
Am I not turning it
removing your sample, or you could take your sample out entirely. Now that's the beam. You just touch that.
Should we just take out some?
Take out the sample. You can also just try moving the stage.
Oh, but I think I saw that. It's not right.
So you're moving it around, and you don't seem to be seeing anything.
No.
So you need to turn the course knob.
There you go, I see it. And this moves.
The other knob would move the light.
Yeah. There you go, I see.
Okay, so you want to test to see whether or not it needs alignment.
So yeah, it's not even centered still.
Now, why don't we see a clear field of illumination there?
So because the stage is moved so that there's a little bit of black, if you want, I can something like that.
What's that because we're at higher magnitude?
That's not very high. That's the samples in the way. So we're going to look at our samples at something like 95,000. So we want to get up above the 28,000.
Okay. So you want to raise that magnification?
Yep.
Okay, so
Should we just go back to 500 or something? Or we have
we're trying to raise it. The magnification.
I'll go behind it.
So magnification is here.
That's
Why?
the magnification.
Should I adjust it now?
It's up to you.
How?
If you wanted, you said you wanted to raise the magnification.
Mm-hmm. So around what level should I be raising it? You said around 9,000? Was it?
We were going to be looking at, if we found virus particles, we'd be looking at them at 90,000 to 200,000.
Okay.
But for our alignments, we can do it, say, at 20 or 30.
What do you, if he brought up the intensity a little bit, would that help? Just so that he can see the light a little better.
Yeah.
What's the, how does that intensity compare to what we had just a few minutes ago when I was sitting there?
I guess it's the same.
Don't remember. Is the beam and everything centered properly?
No.
So what needs to be done?
We need to align it first.
What specifically needs to be done?
We can possibly adjust the objective and the condenser, or the aperture, condenser aperture.
Now you
Not yet.
mentioned two different possibilities, objective and condenser.
Yeah.
What needs to be aligned first?
The condenser.
Why?
Because the condenser is the one that is the first one that travels and then it goes to the objective after.
Right. And how do you know that the condenser needs to be centered?
Because of the crossover. Can we do this?
What about the crossover?
When I focus in and out, or when I increase the intensity, that crossover, we're not getting a concentric circle, and instead we're getting this distorted oval, bidirectional movement going on instead.
Okay. So you need to center the condenser.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what's the first step in centering the condenser?
You can possibly see
I don't-
which direction
I
it
don't
needs to
think
go.
so.
Center the beam.
No? What is it you're trying to do right now?
Right now, I'm trying to get a concentric circle when I adjust the crossover. I'm going in and out.
And you're not getting it, so we've already passed that.
Yeah.
And we've decided that we need to center the condenser.
Mm-hmm.
And we picked the condenser because it's the most upstream.
Yeah.
Okay, so then what's the first thing you need to do in order to be able to work on centering the condenser, which is upstream?
Would we want to start out with the biggest first and go with number 4?
You know? You already told me that you want to start with the one that's upstream.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that the ones downstream are out of the way.
That's right.
So you pull out the objective? Or not, you said?
Looks like pull out the objective because it's downstream. So you don't want it to be interfering with or distorting your upstream image.
Okay. So how do we pull out the objective?
Would that be with the big knob?
No.
No.
Pull it out.
I'm not sure either.
Bottom,
Oh, this one.
It's that long thing.
Is that right?
Yep.
Alright, there you go. Awesome. Ah, look. Good job, Eddie.
Now, how does that light compare to what you had just a minute ago?
Brighter.
It's much
Well,
brighter
yeah.
because the
There's nothing in
objective
the way.
is out of the way and partially blocking the beam.
Okay. Makes sense. So now
Cool.
we can go about adjusting
So now you can adjust the
condenser.
Right, but see all that stuff? That's the sample and grid bars. So when you start going up towards crossover and whatnot, you're going to start heating up your sample.
Oh.
Particularly on negative staining when it's so dark, it's going to absorb all that heat, and there's a chance you're going to pop that grid square.
So we put like a pencil inside of it to pop it out.
That's right. So you want to pull out the
Sample.
sample.
So can I just do that now, or do I need to
How do you do that now?
pull it out now?
Just a
Pull it
little
out?
bit, right?
You want to push against the blue part.
You can't see that, man.
Okay.
You want to put it all the way across the opening.
Like a bridge. Put it.
I guess.
All the way across.
You want to be pushing against that with your other fingers while you do that.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay.
That's where you have to go home at night to practice your lifting weights.
Got it.
So that you get a little more strength there, so you can push with these fingers while you pull with these.
Okay.
And then with your other hand, you can drop the pencil into place.
Yeah.
All right, so now we got our sample out of the way, so we don't have to worry about toasting our sample.
I see. Makes sense. So now I can start playing with the condenser and making sure that it's getting closer to that concentric circle.
Right.
Very dark.
So now there's no chance of burning this couple, right?
Yeah. Further away, so I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah, now as you're twisting one of the knobs, if the direction changes, then that's telling you that you went through the center and now you're coming out a different side. So then you need to switch to the other centering device.
Could you repeat that for me?
There are two centering knobs. When
Okay, so
you're
this one and this one.
right, so when you're swinging your focus on your intensity back and forth, and you're moving the aperture, and you're going to notice that the direction is either going to get worse or less, and the direction itself may change.
Okay.
If the direction itself starts to change, that means that you're no longer turning it in the
Mhm.
right direction.
Okay.
And you want to stop and,
And
go
do
to
the
the
other
other
map.
one. So that looks pretty good.
So the next step would be go to number 3.
Why?
So we centered the 200 micrometer. I guess we can go a little bit more small and more intense, smaller area, and we can focus that instead, center that.
You could, but as you put in a smaller condenser aperture, you're going to get less
What do you mean?
electrons coming down. So
Okay.
your spot's going to get dimmer.
Okay.
When you put in the objective now to see how.
Right, so you've centered, you made your choice and put that aperture in the column and you centered it. So you're done. If you didn't want that aperture, you should have put a different one in and
Oh, I
centered
see.
that one.
I see.
So now we move on to the objective.
Right,
So
because
now
that's
we put the objective on.
downstream.
Let's put the objective on.
Oh,
Slowly.
now we lose our feed.
Start to pull it out. So you've got it, it's way off to the side. So you need to twist the side.
Oh. Okay.
Alright, but you can't see that aperture at this magnification. So you need to drop your mag down to like 1400.
Yeah, 13. All right.
So do your crossover.
It's too old.
Is it spreading evenly?
It is not. It's football shape.
And it's football shape. So try pulling your objective aperture, since it was round a minute ago, until you came along and put the objective in. Therefore, pull it out and see if it looks round again.
Yeah, it's round.
Yeah, a slight change, I guess.
So your aperture was blocking some of the beam, and that's what made it look more football shaped.
Yeah.
So put the aperture back in now.
So this is checking to see that it is in fact the objective that's causing the light to.
Yep. So now spread the beam.
So it's definitely the objective.
So you can see the round circle, which you're going to assume is your beam, because the beam was centered just a minute ago. So,
Something's blocking that.
right, and it wasn't blocking it a minute ago, so
It's
what,
got to be the objective.
Is out of line.
so in that case, try, give a very small tweak to that to see if it moves. And if it moves, then you know that that's what the problem is.
Yep.
Exactly.
So.
So now when you swing this, take it down another magnification. No.
No. No, it's just one.
What?
Yeah.
No, take it down to 1400, not 14,000.
1,400.
All right, see, here's your beam. which doesn't quite look centered because of the way it's spreading to either side. As you spread this beam, now you see this other one. You know, so see if that moves. See if your objective controls move that. And it does, so now you can center that using those little golf wings or the V's on the view screen there.
You mean these, the crosshairs or whatever you
Yeah,
Gull
those
wings?
black
What did you call them?
gull wings. They
Gull
look
wings?
like people paint seagulls in the distance.
That's
Paint
right.
things, that's right.
Oh, we need to know your terms because that's how you put them.
Those wings are showing you the outlines of the image that you're going to capture on film. So depending on what kind of film camera you have, it'll either be the closest inside of the wings or the middle of the body of the birds or the other extreme edge of the wing. And it changes depending on your film size. Yeah, and that controller's not being very snappy, so. All right,
Yep,
so
so much.
you can go back now and bring your mag up and start looking at your samples.
Alright, but now we need to load the sample first. Right there.
Okay.
Well. And with the multifunction. Alright. Cool.
All right, so now what?
Well, we went through the alignment. We have our sample in. I guess, what's that? Looking for a right sample? One that we would like? Any other calibrations that we need?
Now you want to take a picture.
So, yeah, switch the feed.
I'm sorry?
Switch the feed to the camera so we can take a picture.
Well, first thing you want to do is
Find something?
spread your beam so that you're not going to toast the camera when you put it in.
That's right. That's good enough.
Yeah, that's good enough. But you could just check your exposure,
How do I check my exposure?
see whether or not it gives you a big red sign that says beam too high.
The other one.
Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Beam too
Too
low.
low. That's fine.
Well, that's also because you don't have the camera in.
That's right. So. Okay. If it goes too high, would flash a warning? Or
It's a red.
we would see that white spot going right. Awesome. Okay.
And what would be your first response?
Take the camera out.
Okay, so now what?
Look for a sample.
Okay.
Looks like those might.
You could just say that's your sample.
Okay. That's our sample.
So this says with your sample inserted, press eccentric focus. What is
There's a button. It's
So-
right
This guy?
yeah? Would we also need to do that? The eccentric focus for this?
What does the eccentric focus button do?
Good question.
That's exactly what I was wondering myself, actually.
That question we need to which is the solder sample for
What does the eccentric focus do?
That's a good question.
It's not on the sheet? It's not? No, on the sheet. It's not. Does it say like eccentric focus is physics?
Your sample insert, press eccentric focus.
I mean, I know it says that very shit. But what does eccentric focus do?
Eccentric focus, the eccentric point is the pivot point. So when you put your sample at the eccentric focus height, the eccentric focus is setting the focus at the point where if you had a sample there and you tilted the sample, it wouldn't appear to move because it was tilting at that point rather than above or below. So when you have the eccentric point off of your sample and you tilt the stage, then you can see my fingertip moves off of the center. If you have the sample at the eccentric point, then it swivels like this, and you should get no movement of your sample. So the eccentric point is a sweet spot in the lens, so that's where you want to get your sample.
So, clicking eccentric focus selects it as the eccentric.
It sets the current to the lens so that
That will be
it's
the-
focusing at the eccentric distance.
Okay. So, if this is ours, I click eccentric focus.
So, that's where the eccentric focus is.
So we're out of focus.
Yes, you're out of focus. So what are you gonna do about it?
Try to make the image sharper with the focus knobs.
That's what you could do. But not take care of the problem, though. Go ahead and focus it quickly.
Oh, but if we're still not at the right at the right point, we'll still
So you can just
we'll
hit the
still
eccentric
be
now.
off even though I focus, right?
Can't you just hit the eccentric now?
I think I'll do the same thing. Yeah. We need to go a little deeper. Correct?
No,
No?
no.
How come well that's just the default.
When you tried to set those ants on fire with your magnifying glass as a kid, what did you have to do with the magnifying glass?
Bring it closer
You had to get it
in the right spot.
at the right spot. So you have to do the same thing here. In this case, in the case of the glass lens, you couldn't change the shape of the lens. So you had to move the lens in order to make sure that that fixed distance to that focus point was at your sample when you enter your fire material.
That's right.
Fire. Well, this is a magnetic lens that changes shape as you change the intensity going through it. So when you press the eccentric focus knob, it changes the strength to that lens to give you the eccentric working distance, where if you had a sample, it would be tilting at that distance. When you turn the focus knob, it's changing that current setting and raising or lowering, right, changing the shape of the lens, the distance to focus. But you want to be at the eccentric distance. Therefore, having set the distance, you now have to move your ant or your sample to that position, because that's where the little spot is to start that fire.
So you need to move your sample.
Yes, you need to
How do
move
you
your
move
sample.
With
You have to move it up and down.
So that's
is that the alpha wobble?
That's the alpha wobble.
Okay. That's it. So there eccentric focus. Alpha wobble. That's good, we're getting
So now where is the
where
alpha?
is the alpha wobble?
so let's see here. Alpha wobbler is LH panel L1. So
L1?
left.
What L1? But it doesn't say anything here on the control.
That's right.
So
We need to set it
you
so that-
can look at the multi. It should say there.
That's the
Alpha
same.
wobbler is R2.
That's right. R2.
So I guess it's not an L1.
So you need to fix your end now.
Yeah. Put it to R2.
That's right. There's a pen in there.
Here.
I got
Oh. Alright.
That's right. So this is why I told you what the assignments for those buttons are. And they're variable.
Yeah.
So before you press one of those buttons, you need to check and make sure that someone hasn't moved them, like me, because that panel shorts out a lot, and so.
Sometimes you
So
move
you
it to the other.
prefer,
So it suggested I move the assignment to the other panel to see if it takes care of the problem, and it does.
So you should always check the legend before.
yeah,
Right.
of the setting things.
Alright,
So now we know the alpha welder.
so now you're gonna rock the sample.
Select.
Did you hit the alpha one?
Now I did.
So now what's it doing?
It's tilting back and forth.
That's your image. What's the microscope doing?
It's trying to. I guess it's changing where the sample is.
That's back.
Danny?
It's wobbling.
Well, that's what it says, but
On the machine, like now, it's changing the angle.
yeah, the sample is.
So what's happening at the end of the run?
The sample is moving.
It's tilting.
It's
It's
rocking,
tilting.
I guess.
It's tilting. So that's your tilt angle there. You're tilting it plus or minus 15 degrees. Now we define the eccentric point as the point of rotation. So if your sample's at the point of rotation, it's not going to be moving from side to side because it's just going to be
In the same
tilting. So you should be seeing different sides of it.
Yeah.
Well,
So that's
you're
what.
not seeing different sides of it. It's moving.
We're not in the right spot.
So you're not, and it's also out of focus.
Yeah.
So is that where the z-axis is it?
So
These
maybe
buttons?
to raise or lower sample.
So there are two ways to do this if you think about it. One is to let this thing rock back and forth while you try and figure out which way to move it. Or you know what the problem is. The problem is
We're not in the eccentric focus.
the sample isn't at the right height. So it has to be either
Raise
moved
or
up or
lower.
down. So turn off your alpha wobble. And what will you see if your sample's at the eccentric distance?
It should be clear and sharp. Not out of focus like that.
So raise or lower the arm until it gets closer to focus.
So you use that by doing the half circle controls, the right hand panel, upper row left.
And you're gonna use the z-axis controls, not touch the.
So z-axis controls is
Right here?
Yeah.
You guys.
Can't see.
It's right here.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that's the half moon.
And if you look on the panel, in the right-hand corner, you've got an X, Y, and a Z position. So when you press down, you should see
Change.
a change in the Z.
Yeah, disease.
I feel like we should go up.
And you just take a look there and see if it focuses.
Yeah.
You just want to hold it down and let it move. Is it getting clearer?
Clear.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, now turn on your alpha wobble. No, you're not there yet.
Not quite yet.
So I'm gonna turn it off again and just focus on it.
I'll try the alpha wobble. That looks clear. Nope, still not there.
Oh, that was too much. What do you guys think?
That looks pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
94. So let's see.
Now the other thing you can try is to turn
Oh, just the vertical wall?
And the image wobble is controlled by your multifunction knobs. So this is telling us that the image looks pretty good to focus. Go ahead and choose the focus knob.
Oh.
So you should be getting, you should go out of focus. So now you're getting this double image thing. So focus is when the two images superfocus.
Hmm.
Press your centric focus. So
Right, like a little bit off.
you're a little bit off. Turn off your image wobble
Oh yeah.
and try your alpha wobble. And so you need to raise the stage some more. And you want to leave it on because that other trick's not working.
Okay. It's too much. So when we're at the eccentric focus, we should see it almost like it's bending sideways. Mm. You think it's getting better? Or?
Yep.
Yeah.
So the problem may be the grid might be face up or face down.
Oh.
If it is, that raises or changes the position of the grid in the sample folder.
See, I think we're getting closer, but the image is getting blurry.
Deal with one problem at a time.
Mm. So that's okay. It's at the right height, but it's not completely clear.
So now it's not moving much.
Mm. I think I went too far.
Okay, so I don't know that I would. It doesn't seem to be moving very much. It jumps out at the extremes.
Yeah, I can see that it's starting to
All right.
move.
So turn off your alpha wobble. And hit the eccentric focus. And let's see, that's the problem. It must be the grid
The grid
is
itself.
different.
If it was slightly bent, like that.
Yeah, it's been, that would also do it. I don't think it's been.
Okay. So now we're at the eccentric focus.
So now we're not at the eccentric focus.
That's right.
See, now this would tell you, let's see, there should be focus, it's not telling you. It's possible to put up a value of the defocus
Oh.
so that you could look to see what the difference in position was between the eccentric focus that's calibrated on the instrument difference would tell you how far off you were. It would also tell you if that was the thickness of the grid, then it would tell you that your grid was
Let's just say
faced the wrong way. So the sample's on the bottom, not on the top.
how would we set that, or what row would we have to click to have that setting come up, or do we not need like that?
I would worry about it.
Okay.
I'm content if you can get samples in and out without blocking them. Take some nice pictures. Alright, so
Agreed.
you're close to the eccentric point, as close as you're gonna be able to get.
Right.
There's also a difference between the samples. This is a negative stain, which is a very thin preparation compared to a slice, which is thicker. So I probably calibrated this for the slice. On the other hand, they've also taken the stage apart since I calibrated it, so probably could go back in and reset it. But I think it's closer to the slice position than it is for this negative stain. Alright, so you want to get a focused image.
Guess that's as best as, yeah, that's as it gets.
Okay. So you want to take a picture then?
Right. There we go. Wait, my final image?
I'm sorry?
This guy? To
Yes.
capture? Alright.
See this?
Click file tab, case study, and you save.
File tab? Oh, is the whole how to save it?
So open a window that will allow you to start a folder that will contain your images.
So that'd be going to case, then case studies.
So
You want to put it in your own folder?
Folder. Yeah. I think I had one already from last time. Were we under a special name, class or something like that? Just case studies?
You're in TEM 14 inside the case studies.
No, instead of case studies. File 14? This one?
Yeah.
That's me. Alright.
So do you have any files in there?
The stomach? I think that was a demonstration.
Okay.
So, this one page. And the case name would just be anything I need to move around with these guys? Choice. I think you said something about
something set
depending
here.
on what we pick, it will limit our image.
Right, your consumer programs won't open
Mhm.
16-bit circuit.
Just stick with 8. Okay. And data start.
Okay, now you haven't saved that picture.
You have to click the cabinet.
There you go.
So when you save the caption,
Yeah, yes.
Alright, now you don't need to put in a caption. I mean, you don't need to put in anything on that line, it'll just be blank underneath the picture.
Mm.
If you want to put something that will be forever associated with your file, then you would type something in there. You can
So
turn
just
on
save
any
that.
of those things.
Maybe date and time.
If you turned everything off, then it would just be blank. You want to, at a minimum, leave the scale bar in the upper right corner. So you'll always have a scale bar in your picture. Everything else is
Optional.
superfluous. Optional.
Awesome. Just leave the date and time so I know when it was done.
And that blue thing is telling you what the name of the file is.
Where
Awesome. Cool. That's it right now.
If you right click, it will go automatically to live image. Since you left clicked, you now have to click on the button that says click for live image.
That's it.
But you'll notice in your picture that it's not even lit.
No, there's a lot of an excess here.
Right.
That's how we go about moving it.
That's in your background.
Change that. How would we diminish the background so that it's more focused on our sample?
Well, under the lighting conditions that you have right now, you're getting more light.
So you can turn off the white light.
Yes.
The room lights.
Right. But we're leaving that on in order to demonstrate how to fix this. So this would apply to also any irregularities in your illumination in the scope. And maybe your beam for some reason is not, you didn't center your beam. And you can't center the beam because that would require resetting the filament.
Yeah.
So in order to get some decent pictures before I have a chance to fix the filament for you, you could compensate for the fact that one side of the camera is not recording as brightly as the other by setting up a background picture where you take a picture where one side is not recording as brightly as the other and the camera records it and says, oh, well, if this is background, you really want all of these pixel intensities to be the same all the way across. So it resets your baseline so that the pixels on the left, which are showing as being bright, are damped down, so that you need to hit them with more pixels. And then the ones on the right, which are looking darker, you want to make them more sensitive so that when you have
It'll
the
be an
sample,
even-
it'll be even all the way across, right? So that's your background.
It's a correction.
It's a correction, right? So you want to make that correction.
Where's
Correct? Yeah. Background, correct on.
Would be
Oh, we need to acquire a background.
acquire a
first.
background.
Right. Because that may change from day to day.
So follow those. Change the beam. Just into
All right. Now, you're not ready to go there yet.
no?
Because you have to check, you want to check your beams.
Switch it to the. This one.
So bring it up to crossover and see whether or not it looks like it's centered.
It doesn't.
Now, I'll tell you a little secret. The camera's mirror is a little off. So centered here is not exactly centered over there.
So how do we compensate for that?
You would go back into your program over there and cancel out your background.
So can I go ahead and click proceed?
Cancel.
Okay. Go back to camera view.
Do I hit cancel first?
Okay, so you want to make sure your beam is spread, put the camera back in.
You don't get anything.
I mentioned this problem before. So you put the camera in, you know the beam is on, the valves are open, you know you should see something, and you're not. Therefore, roll the camera. You just don't know what's going on.
That's right.
Okay? So now you need to figure out,
What's going on?
since you can see intensity on the screen, you should be able to see it on your camera.
Means that something's blocking the way when you set the camera? Or
It couldn't be blocking it because if it was blocking you,
we wouldn't see
it down
this.
below. So, and your camera is out now, so that's why you're not seeing anything on the the screen,
Of course.
on the camera screen, because you don't have the mirror in. But when you put the mirror in, you still didn't see anything.
That it might.
It's not live.
Yeah, it's not on. It's not recording.
Yeah.
Good shot, I guess.
Now, you want to turn the camera on before you put the beam.
So I don't burn it as soon as I say.
Right. So
Okay.
now you can, keeping an eye on the intensity here, you can now center it here by just looking for the edges. And here you can see that the filament needs some adjusting because it's not round, it's oval. So you want to try to get it towards even illumination and as much brightness as you can. And you can't do that right now because this is, in order to get it spread evenly, you've got to go down so you're getting a lower intensity. So you don't have a choice about getting it in the middle. Some of that has to do with the settings over here and being at 97,000.
Okay.
Alright, so you're now centered. Your intensity is as bright as you can get it without having it clip. And you have to remember that intensity so that when you go to be taking your pictures, you don't try to set it midline because your background was set at
For this
ordered.
particular.
Right.
So we don't mess with that once we set the sample.
Ideally, but when you start changing mags and everything, that's going to go out the window.
So I have the sample already, and then the magnification that we want.
Yeah, if you're going to be taking most of your pictures of that mag, then I would set it up that way. If
Now,
you're going to be all over the place, then that's an option that you can't use. Okay?
and now go for the correction.
Notice that there was extra light in the lower right corner. So you got your sample out, you adjusted and set it your intensity and everything, so now you can go for in your background.
You could always just say what it said then. You do. Please, do that thing you did with the other one. Alright. Now we're good. Set the sample back in. Right.
I'm sorry?
Now that we've collected the background, put the sample back in.
Don't you want to see what it looks like correctly?
Yes.
Looks pretty even. So now it's pretty even. So you put your sample back in. Yeah, except we changed the light, because I had the light on. So that's your sample. Review the background. So if you see these odd marks on the screen that don't move, so they're not on the sample, and they're different intensities and things, and you can't get rid of them, then put a new background in. So that's kind of the equivalent of turning on, restarting your computer. When things don't look right on your computer screen. I can give you a couple of simple things if, check that your beam is centered and your filament is powered up and whatnot. And then when that doesn't do anything,
Alright, looks
you
good, I
reset
guess.
it. Alright, so now you put your sample back in. So again, we've got even illumination until you change
Yeah.
your your illumination. So anytime you start changing it, and that can take place because when you change mags, if you haven't done all the alignment steps, then some of the alignments may shift slightly at different magnifications, which might cause your image not to be as evenly illuminated. Sometimes you can fix that just by centering the beam and whatnot, but sometimes you can't. And it's always easier to take the time now to correct your alignments or put in a new background than it is later on trying to do Photoshop or flipping it out later on because you didn't take a few minutes now to get a beautiful picture. It's basically painting now or painting later. And this is a lot easier to deal with.
Since pay you now or pay you later with interest.
This is probably the better way so that there's less of a transition.
Yeah, because
The manipulation, right? Like,
well, if it turns out that you need, when you're trying to size your picture, maybe you can't flip off that edge because it's going to make the picture smaller than all the others and you want it to have a particular size, well now you're stuck. So if you had gone and simply fixed the background, then you wouldn't have to flip that side off and you'd be okay. Or maybe you want to put an insert in, and you can't now because
see, that's migrating.
if you put the insert in the lower left corner, the upper left corner is still going to have that darkness.
Look at this.
So you want to make it.
And it's like really messed up. So, is this slight migration because of the plastics?
Mhm.
It's moving around. I know Big Tom mentioned that one too.
And your intensity is kind of low, so there's not a whole lot you can do about it. So
Yeah.
It's a defect with your plastic, and all you can do is curse.
All right.
You can let it sit there and over time hope that it'll stop stretching on you, but that's pretty time intensive.
Alright. I'm just gonna say this as like the corrected image.
Okay, so that's as much time as I can give you people.
Thank you,
So
Doctor.
you need to look over the handout.
Definitely.
You need to think about
Change steps.
if you need to, you have the handout, I guess you don't have it electronically, I could send you that electronically so that you can modify it. That was something I put together to make sense to me, but I know how all of it works. So obviously it doesn't make enough sense to all of you, or we would.
So we need to add that extra context that's missing for it to make sense to us, basically.
Well,
If
that's
you
up
put
to you.
if you put this on Blackboard, that'd be really
Yeah.
nice. That way we can not just all get it.
And we can edit it and whatnot. Make our own copies.
And then you gotta hook it up with that video.
Alright, thank you.
This is great. Thank you so much for your time.
Alright, so we want to,
We need to check if someone's signed in for later on. Check the liquid nitrogen. And let's see what else we have to do. Fill it through.
we need to sign up on the sign up sheet.
Would this be training?
Yeah.
Should be class.
How long are we here? Like an hour?
What time is it right now?
3?
An hour and a half.
It's been 1 hour and 19 minutes.
And 19?
Well, 1 hour and
I put it an hour and a half.
So,
Training bio.
go on battery earlier.
Hell yeah.
With,
Alright.
Good job, man. High five. You did it, man.
Well done, Danny.
we're ready.
Hey,
Well done, dude.
next time you play around with it, okay?